Good morning. It is Sunday, March 24th. It is 11:49 a.m. in the morning. And yes, I am a hot mess. I am absolutely a hot mess. I had made a promise to God, and I made a promise to you all as much as I could that I would be vulnerable and that I would share my journey in real time. In fear, in questioning, in confusion, in everything part of my healing, spiritually, physically, and mentally, the best to my ability at where I'm at in my journey. And trying to do it as biblically as I possibly can with the knowledge that I have at the time within my journey. I have soared spiritually unlike anything that I have ever experienced in my entire life, which I know sounds so cliche and so corny right now. I don't have words to describe God in this moment. If you have been watching my journey, I'm speechless. I don't really know what else to say. If you are new to my journey, I look very different to you, and I am well aware of this. You might want to go back and look at some of my posts and kind of do a timeline. And the part that makes this hard with my journey is that I didn't start doing posts until February, I think. But I have put it on Facebook for over a year, down to music that I'm listening to in the season in which I'm in, what's happening in real time, spiritually, things that don't even make sense and people think that I'm crazy. There's a lot. It's a lot. And I know it's a lot. I'm living it. It's a lot. It's a lot for anybody who comes into my life. It's a lot for people who have been in my life. It is a lot for people who watch and see the old me versus the new me. I absolutely understand everybody's perspective of me in this moment, because it's a lot for me. But please go back and watch at least the past couple posts or YouTubes that I have done. I'm sorry. I'm a little not right now. And I'm a little overwhelmed myself in this moment and a little bit in confusion. But I'm also aware of what God is doing. And I just can't understand why he's doing it in me. And so that's kind of where I'm at with this. I did a couple posts this morning. It's weird how all this comes together. And this has happened to us a lot on Sundays as we're watching my journey. I will post some things in the morning, and then I will go and watch Elevation live or later or whatever the case may be. And I pretty much try and prove that on there, don't I? And everything in there sums up either what's been happening in the past couple weeks, what's been happening in the past couple days. But in real time on that Sunday, I post something and then they end up talking about it in their sermon somehow. But if you go spiritually in my journey, deeper, what they say has way more meaning than on the surface of how you see me. If you are spiritual along with me in my journey, you can see things differently. And I know that for some that's so confusing, and I know for some that doesn't make any sense. God, this is really hard. So come on, God, help me out here, because I didn't even know I was coming on here. Look, when you start reading the Bible, it doesn't make any sense. It's hard to understand. It's really hard to read. It's really confusing because you're seeing it on a surface that you don't understand because you're looking at it in the time in which it was written, so it doesn't make sense. But if you can apply what you're reading in the Bible to what's happening today or what's happening in your own journey and in your own life and your turmoil and your heart and your like, I don't know how to explain that, but, and you can't just open the Bible and understand it. It doesn't work like that, I don't think. At least I'm telling you from my point of view, from my journey. I started reading the Bible in phrases, in verses. I took little pieces of the Bible that was resonating to me, that I needed to hold on to, that I needed to grasp in that moment to get me through whatever part of a season that I was in, whether it was good or it was bad, whether it was joy or it was turmoil, whether it was the storm, whether it was the peaks, the valleys, whatever the case may be. And then as I took some verses and I got through a season, or I got through something, I knew that I was going to face that season again, or I was going to face something again, but differently. A different perspective, a different level, a different way. And so in order for me to have knowledge, in order for me to understand what was happening within myself and my surroundings and spiritually and with God, I had to open up now and read more of the books, more of, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, or Job, or Moses, or wherever I was at in that moment. I had to take a story from the Bible and hold on to who God says I am in that season based on what I was reading. And so I've done that, or I've been doing that. But then you have to take in where you're at in your journey and humbly go somewhere with it. Let God talk to you, reflect, understand what's happening in that moment where you're at in the season in which you're in your journey. Everything that I'm saying to you is biblical. I am not a pastor. I did not go to school. Well, I did kind of go to school for it, but not in the way y'all think. Like I did, but I didn't at the time grasp all of it. But anyways, so I don't stick scripture down people. Like I don't do that. I just talk about my journey. And there was a lot of fear involved in doing this. There was a lot of questioning what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, but I kept going because I kept the Holy Spirit, God, everything in me that I tried to stop and tried to not want to do this and tried to go, this is crazy. I'm looking crazy. This is stupid. This is not working. The reason that I was losing people in my life, but I was gaining people. I was in isolation. I've been in isolation for a long time. And so I have been myself trying to understand and grasp everything. But for those of you who have been watching my journey since day one, or even before I started publicly talking about this on my journey, holy shiz, where have we gone? And you look back at these mega churches and you look back at Elevation, and she talks about it in her sermon. She gives you visuals of their journey and where they started and where they are now. And that's their testimony of what they went through to become who they are now in their ministry. I don't have a ministry. I am literally just doing my journey and listening to God and doing what He says. I'm not doing this for fame and fortune and money. I'm doing this to help people in any way that I can. And I am universally trying to show God, and people call Him by different names, but we're all trying to live life on earth together differently, but with the same morals and beliefs and understandings. And some of our understandings are tweaked, and some of our understandings don't make sense, and some of our understandings are just like religion and pride and ego and selfishness, and the devil's working, y'all. Shaking a little bit, sorry. I don't know what's next. And I say this in almost every single one of my videos. But I'm real, and I'm raw, and I'm trying, and I'm doing, and I got stuck. And a friend of mine showed me something in these past couple days, that I have been correct on who I am, but confused and not, I don't know how to explain that. And so he encouraged me to take a personality test. And I took a personality test and I went, oh my God. I am who I say I am. I'm questioning what I shouldn't be questioning out of fear and doubt and isolation and not getting this yet. You know, I don't know how to explain that to you all. And so it's really, really hard because everybody's very silent and nobody's really saying much. And so you sit here looking crazy at times, and people are scared of you because they don't know what to make of you, because they're watching this going and trying to process, and then they go, this is too much. And I know it's too much. But you have to figure out a way to keep going. And so I go to God, and God just keeps showing it to me. And I go, I'm going. I'm doing this. We're going here. Like I'm at the point, and I have said this in my journey, and I said this on my last post. I'm hands down am believing in God. And I hope that you are too. I hope that you are seeing God in your journey. I pray that God is working and moving in your life and in your heart and in your journey. And I hope that He is being bold and showing you something, and you're being bold and seeing it and questioning it and understanding it and learning from it and growing and having knowledge from what's happening in your journey and the time that you are at. Whether you're in a storm, if you are in a storm and you are not understanding the storm and you are not understanding what's happening and how it's happening and what is going on, I clearly understand that. And it is so hard when you are in the storm to see things bigger. It is hard when you are in the storm to understand what is going on. But the more storms you have, the clearer you understand them. But you got to go in boldness and in faith in those storms to see it differently. And when you see the fruit of that moment, that prayer, however big or small that is in your journey, and when you do that, and when you keep going, and when you see that, you trust and you have faith, and you see the good, you see the fruit, you see your heart, you see your healing, you see you going. Because you have decided to trust what you cannot see, to learn about yourself and what you do not yet know about yourself. And you've pushed your mind, you've pushed yourself physically, you've pushed yourself spiritually, going into a new season, going into a new time, going into a new era, going into, I don't know how you want to look at this. There are days that you see me out here and I'm looking good and I'm feeling confident and I'm feeling bold. And there are days that you see me out here and I'm a hot mess. And then there's days where I'm totally just at peace and everything is good. But I've been worshiping Him and I've been watching sermons. I have been on my knees crying at everything that He's been doing and humbling myself and thanking Him. Because I do not know why He is doing this in me. I am you. I am just like everybody else, but I am also just like everybody else in the Bible who has sinned and who has some major stuff that they went through. But some of you don't know that about me because you don't know me. You don't know my journey. You don't know what I've been through. You only know me either on YouTube or you've known me face to face, but you've only spoken to me in the store or hung out with me here and there or met me through my jobs or whatever the case may be. So all of you have a different perspective of me. Don't you think we all keep having a different perspective of God? Do we really know him? We don't know unless we spend time with him. We don't know unless we trust him. We don't know, right? But isn't that in our everyday lives with our everyday relationships? You don't know somebody unless you spend time with them. You don't know their hearts. I'm gonna explain. I did a post yesterday. I believe it was yesterday. I did a post, and I told you all that I was getting a tattoo done. I'm not even wearing the right shirt for it, so I do apologize. But it's kind of might be hard to see. Let me see if I can do it this way without like showing some stuff off. I don't know. Let me see. Okay. I'm going to kind of start to explain to you my tattoo because it's really, really cool the way that this is coming together and what God is doing. And I think it's very important that I share that. Okay? So, I know you really can't see it really well, but I got my grandkids' names. This is one of my grandkids. And this is one of my grandkids. Okay? Give me a second. Let me put my shirt back on. And this tattoo has an A right here because my name is Angela. It has a heart because I love, and it has an infinity sign because I love forever. This tattoo I got probably 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I don't even remember, to be honest with you. I like flowers. I like lilies. I like just different flowers. And so don't mind this. I had my tattoo done last night and I haven't got all the ink off. But this tattoo was I just thought it was cool. And I don't know if you can see it, but it has white in it. You probably can't see it through the camera, but there's white. And I take white very well on a tattoo, which, believe me or not, is really crazy. I got a dragonfly. And dragonflies, look it up. Look up what a dragonfly stands for and what they are. And it's an amazing. Dragonflies are fascinating to me. I got my niece's name. I have a niece. She's the light of the world right now. And she is amazing. And she's an empath, but she doesn't know that yet. She's like 7, 8 years old. She's like a little, she's a little firecracker. She stands boldly in who she is. And she has got a heart of gold. And she has one of the most innocent hearts that I know of. And, I see so much of myself in her. And I share with my sister and I told her, God, she's an empath. And so, so that's my niece. My mom passed away while I was in labor with my first daughter. And it's going to sound like a tragedy story, and it probably is for you and where you're at or whatever. But this is 24 years later, and actually March 28th is the 24th anniversary of my mom passing. And my mom had surgery, and in the recovery of the surgery, something happened and she didn't survive. The night before the night that my mom was passing away, I didn't know yet. I had a dream that my mom had died in a plane crash. I'm not even sure that my family knows this story. I had a dream that my mom had died in a plane crash, and I woke up, and when I looked at the time, it was 8:35 p.m. The next morning, I went for a C-section. I had a next morning I went to go and get induced. I was getting induced for my pregnancy, and my mom couldn't be there with me, obviously, because she was having surgery. Well, I found out while I was in labor that my mom had passed away. And if I'm correct on the time, my mom passed away at 8:32 p.m. I may be wrong on the time, but it was around that time that I had my dream that my mom passed away. I know my aunt probably knows the exact time, but I do not know. I believe that's around the time that she had passed away. My mom collected porcelain frogs, like frog stuff. You know what I mean? Not like actual animals, but the cute frog stuff. Well, my mom died. Somebody in our family had made a tile of my mom. And in Dana Point, California, they have a memorial wall, and her tile is at the memorial wall. And in my journey, I had decided to have my mom's tattooed here, the tile. My father was a deep sea fisherman, and he fished. And that was his piece. That was his zone. That was his thing. And so this is my father giving my mom a rose. My father and I did not have the best relationship. I was a black sheep of the family. I had ADHD. I was impulsive. I was a rebel. I was very, very hard to handle. And so my father has a childhood that makes a lot of sense now to me as to why he was the way that he was. But we did not have a good relationship. Let me just put that out there. We did not have a good relationship. My dad got really, really sick. I don't even know how long ago this was. My sister probably knows the times, but I don't. I don't know the details of everything because maybe I'm still working through some healing. And so there's details that I don't remember or don't want to remember. I don't really know yet. But he got really, really sick. And my sister was getting married. And she was about to start her life and do her thing. Well, I was living in Arizona and they were in California. And my sister's like, I can't do this anymore. Dad's real sick. You know, he's getting in the car in the middle of the night. He's driving. He's leaving the car. I mean, there was just a bunch of stuff. And it got to the point where we had to take the keys from him because he shouldn't be driving anymore. And he was suing the school district. Because my father was a custodian. He worked for the school district. And so back in the day, all those chemicals and all those things had started to wear and tear on his body. And so he was basically suing the school district for his health. And he was rough man. He was a very rough man. And my sister and I see my dad very differently in our journey and in our life, and we have different perspectives of him, which is fine. It's absolutely fine. But there are times that I can remember my mom and I going to a women's shelter, and I've told this story. It's on my Facebook. I don't even know if it's on my journey anywhere else, but I have told this story. And he was the father figure that I had, or that I knew. And so that has a lot to do with the males in my life and the things that I have gone through and all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of like a generational thing. My father's not my biological father, but he's the only father that I know. I don't know my biological father. So maybe there's some abandonment issues going even more core, going even more rooted that I'm not even aware of. I don't know. I don't know yet. I'm not there in my healing. I'm not there in my journey. So I'm telling you in real time. I don't know. But he did die suddenly. I find out he had cancer. And it was throughout his entire body to the point where we couldn't do chemo. So I had flown out to go and help my sister with him. And within 2 weeks, my father passed away. And I was his caretaker. I mean, we had people, we had help, that kind of thing. He was put on hospice, the whole bit. But I will tell you that he verbally abused me to his last breath. And I stood by him. I had gotten this tattoo a while ago, and this is hummingbirds, and this is my 2 children, and this is my parents looking over my children. And now this is me looking over my grandchildren. When my mom passed away, we in the family, almost all of us, had an encounter with a hummingbird. And some of people's encounters with a hummingbird are phenomenal. I can tell you mine. I'm not going to share the rest of my family's. At some point, they can share theirs. My aunt just recently had one, and I'm sure that she is at a loss. But I lived in an apartment, and the apartment was in a circle. So the pool was in the middle, and the apartment was all around. And we had an upstairs and a downstairs. It was a very, very old building. I had a wind chime right in front of my door of my apartment. And I somewhere have the photo, and I've been trying to find it, and I can't find it. And if I find it, amen, God will help me find it. But a hummingbird built a nest on its wind chime, on my wind chime in front of my apartment, and had its babies there. And it was just the most beautiful, ironic thing ever. Well, when my father passed away, and they were wheeling his body out of his apartment, there was a hummingbird that was flying around. And when they put him into the van, there was a second hummingbird that came. And they both flew away together. So we say that that is my mom and my dad. So I got a hummingbird tattoo after my dad passed away with my kids' names. And a lot lately I have been hearing, and things have been being said, that I wear my heart on my sleeve. Yes, I do. And it is all coming together in my book that's called Tattoos of the Heart. And that is what I have been calling my journey the past year and a half. And I talked about how I wrote a book, but I never published it. I never did anything with it. I never finished it. I stopped. And there obviously was a reason at the time as to why I stopped, having no idea in that time. But when you see the whole picture, when you see it all come together, when you see it bigger, but this creation was not of my own. I had many people, and I had 4 or 5 different artists. I have a fairy, a very, very prominent fairy on my ankle. And some of you have seen it, and I'll show it at another time. I don't want to, anyways, I don't want to do all that stuff with the camera. But it looks very evil, I guess, is the word. It looks very, but it's me bold, and it's me there, and I sit well with my dark side. So wait till you see, when this is completed, the vision that I had no idea was going to come out of this. And so I will be finishing this at the end of April. So we did some, and then we're going to finish. And this was a 6-hour session that we got this, with how we're going to do it, where we're going to place it, what's it going to look like, where are we going with it. And so we have been building this as we go. Isn't that what God's doing with us? And we're supposed to wear our heart on our sleeves? But with boundaries, and protect ourselves, and find what's important in our lives, and find what gives us joy, what makes us happy, what brings us light, color. But you're going to go through some stuff. You're going to go through some storms. And so what I will share with you is, in this part right here, we're going to take the water, and we're going to make lightning, and we're going to have a storm. In my journey, in my path of the story of our life, my life, there's storms. I don't know what that's going to look like yet. We have a concept. I don't have the vision yet. So stay tuned, because it can be cool. You guys, God's doing some freaking amazing things. Freaking amazing things. I hope he's doing some freaking amazing things in your lives, you guys. And that you're seeing this from different perspectives. And that you are going through a storm that's going to have a purpose if you go through it. Everything we go through has a purpose. And when you can see that differently, you can help so many more people as you heal. I don't know where you're at in your journey. You may just be starting. You may be in the middle. You may be in the valley. You may be in the hills. You may be at the mountaintops. You may be in the river. There's so many things to this. But the more that you flow the more that you let go, the more that you trust, the more that you have faith, the more God can do quickly, the more God can do swiftly. There's a lot happening in your life. There's a lot happening in your family's lives. There's a lot happening in your community, in your state. There's a lot happening in this nation, isn't there? But until you focus on you and where you're at, you are useless to anybody else. But we all need help. We all need people to pull us out and keep us going, don't we? Find peace. And everybody probably has a different purpose in your life. And if you are broadening your horizons, if you are going outside of your norm, if you are looking at things differently, if you are going higher with God, if you are pushing yourself more, if you are facing your demons, if you are doing the things that you should be doing, that are healthy, that are good for you, that are surrounding yourself with people who will help you grow, who will help you learn, who will give you knowledge, who will push you spiritually, physically, and mentally, you find some real good connections. You find some really good, solid people in your life. And the more peace that you find within your life, the more confidence that you have in yourself, the more that you can give to a bunch of different people, and you balance your life, and you can meet people, and you can talk to people, and you can be with people, but you can still be by yourself, and you can still spend time with yourself. And it's not a need anymore, it's a want. And when you want to be with people, and you want to give to yourself, and you want to spend time with yourself, and you want to spend time with others, that reflects, and that's give and take, and that's balance, and that's love, and that's we're flowing and we're going. But when you're in chaos, and when you're in confusion, and when things aren't looking right, and you're looking at people wrongly, and you're judging, and your perspective is wrong, and things are going wrong, or whatever the case may is, you better stop for a second and check yourself. Because maybe it's not everybody else, maybe it's you. And that is so hard to swallow with your ego and your pride. And this is somebody who's been here, you guys. Everything that I am saying to you is not making me holier than thou. It's making me tell you that I have been here, I am still here, and I'm gonna be there. Because he is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Does not mean that my life is rainbows and butterflies, y'all. That is so false. But I have different perspectives now on how to see things. I have different ways, different knowledge, different wisdom now, different ways that I have grown to follow and understand things and maneuver differently. You can get there. You'll get there if you keep going. You may not be where I'm at in my journey. But again, that doesn't make me better than you. That doesn't make me holier than thou. That doesn't make me anything. That just makes me experienced. I'm 48 years old. I'm not 25. I'm not 19. I'm not 7 years old. But I'm only 48. Do you understand that? So I still have so much more to go and grow and learn. I'm not limiting myself. I'm not limiting God and saying, this is it for me. I'm at my peak. There's nothing else God can do. I'm here. Let's just live it. Let's just do it. You evolve, you grow, you learn at different ages, at different levels, at different times in your life. And you take that wisdom and you try to instill it on younger generations, on other people. And don't limit yourself and limit others based on their age. Do you know how much you can learn from somebody younger than you? Because they're living in a different world, in a different time, in a different era than we are. We may be living in the same world, but we ain't living in the same time now, are we? Their perspective, the way they see things are so different. And either they're a loose cannon or they've got their head on pretty straight, and maybe we need to start listening to them a little bit more. Because maybe they can teach us something. Look at your older generations. They're your elders. They're the ones we're supposed to respect. Well, that depends on how you see them, isn't it? Did they earn that respect? Were they good in your life? Were they, you get what I'm saying? Your grandma, your grandpa, your parents, whatever the case may be, however you see that, just a friend or an older person in your life or somebody you've come across or something, but you know that you respect them, right? So you see them differently. And don't you think that our older generations have prayed us in spiritually? Or maybe our older generations are feeling hurt and feeling lost because no one wants to listen to their stories anymore, and no one wants to talk to them anymore, and no one wants to, so they're just kind of going, I'm here, but I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what my purpose is, and they've been sitting in this for decades. And maybe they just need somebody younger to believe in them still, or to hear their stories. And maybe we all need to slow down and go to their pace for a minute. Caretakers. Oh, you have a heart as a caretaker. To deal with dementia, I dealt with it with my father, who told me that the bedroom was flooding, and it's crazy. And I was a caretaker for a while. I did caretaking, you guys. I had a couple that I used to do that they both had dementia. But I was only the husband's client because the wife was in the hospital. And the wife couldn't eat correctly. And so the husband kept trying to feed her. And so he had to have care. And so for 12-hour shifts, I would go and sit with him at the hospital with his wife. And every time that I came there every day, she didn't remember me. And she kept thinking that I was sleeping with her husband. And she kept telling me that I was his new spice and I was this and that and that. And she cussed and swear at me and all kinds of stuff. Every single day I endured this with her. The beatdown that I got, you guys, was draining. And then I had to give the husband lunch, but he couldn't eat lunch in the same room with her, but he had dementia. So I had to figure out a way to get him out of the room to come and eat lunch with me. But he didn't want to leave her. And then he didn't know who I was and why I was asking him to leave his wife. And so he would yell at me. I got double whammied, you guys. So people who are in caretakers, you're doing your calling. If you are doing it correctly, you are doing your calling, helping these people get through the rest of their lives that they do not know anymore. Take care of them. You are doing what God is asking you to do. That is your calling. Nurses, doctors, everybody has a different calling. Everybody has a different purpose here on earth. I encouraged you all to go out of your comfort zone last week. And I told you that I was going out of my comfort zone as well, and I didn't know why. But I kind of knew what I needed to do that. And I'm doing it. Being more vulnerable. Videoing it in real time. Going beyond myself. I'm going to end this because I don't know what else to say and I don't know what else to do, but I am summing everything up the best way that I know how, you guys. Hold on. Keep going. Don't give up. I may not know your circumstances. I do not know what's happening in your life. I do not know your perspective on life. And you all can be cussing me out right now going, this Bihaha doesn't know what she's talking about. She's out of her mind. I can't listen to her anymore. I can't listen to this crap. I can't do this anymore. I know. I hear you. I've been here. But I also know what it's like to get to the other side. And it's beautiful. And that's the heart of God. That's the mercy and the grace of God. And if you only saw what I see in all of you. But I can't fix it for you. But I can sit with you in it. But you have to trust me. And you have to believe in what I'm telling you. I am not here to hurt you. I'm here to help you. And isn't that what God is telling us? Isn't that what he's saying when we are supposed to be God-like? What that looks like? God is doing something. The shift is happening again. Then we have to go with the shift wherever you're at in your journey. Good or bad, keep going. It's a lot of work. And it's hard. And it's frustrating. And you're beating your head and you're going through the same shit over and over again. But either you're going through it better or worse, or you're not moving. So if you're going through it worse, then you know you're making a bad choice and you know that you need to start making some better decisions. You may not know where to start and you may not know what to do. Find somebody to help you. Find people to help you. And she talked about this on Elevation. The pastor, Holly said, you go back into your suitcase and you pull something out. Or you remember something. You packed something. And I talked about this in one of my journeys not too long ago. And when I said, you go back and you remember those people who helped you. You remember those people who pulled you out in those times and in those seasons. And you go, oh my God. And maybe they're still in your life. And maybe you need to be like, look, I'm sorry. Or maybe God is trying to show you something to heal you, to make amends, to reconcile, to do whatever it is that you need to do to move forward in the moment in which you're at. But if you're stuck and you're not moving, you need to figure out why. Because maybe you're not as bad as you were, so you're doing better than you were before, but you don't know how to move forward. So maybe those are other peeps that you need. Maybe the people who were in your lives before can no longer serve your purpose and can no longer help you where you're at in your journey because they were there for your time and your season. And now it's time for you to move forward in your time and in your season. And so God is lining up new people in your life to help you on your next level and your next part of your journey. Are you getting where I'm going with this? Or maybe now you're at a point in your journey that you're not really stuck, but you're not really where you were before, but you're kind of going, I have no idea what's next. That's kind of where I'm at right now, isn't it? I believe, I trust, I have faith, But I also have doubt and I have fear that I have no idea what's next, and I have no idea if I'm capable of even doing what's next. But God does, because he's ahead of me. So he's lining people up in my life. He's putting people in my life right now to go on the next part of my journey with me, to teach me, to show me, to guide me, to do whatever that God needs them to do in their season and their purpose for their blessing or their lesson, the same as our time is our blessing and our lesson. You're going to have the reap and the tear, but you're also going to have the wealth and the harvest. Within yourself, in your ministry, in your community, in your town, in your world, in your nation. Keep going at whatever level you're at in your journey, however you see this, mentally, physically, or spiritually. I am talking to everybody on different levels. And if you are way up here spiritually, you are reading between the lines on everything that I am telling you. But if you are not there yet in your journey, I am simplifying you, visually showing you where you're at in your journey, and I am doing everything I can to show at different levels in different ways that people see God universally. Holy cow. Again, I do not have anything in front of me. I'm just talking. Keep going. Hold on to the ones who are helping you. Appreciate them. Love them. Nourish them. Help them grow. But be there in the storm. Hold them. Love them. Be where they're at in their journey and understand where they're at with love. Take the personality test. I posted this personality test today. It's phenomenal. And it wasn't that many questions in the thing that I did. I think there's different versions of it. Excuse me. I think there's different versions of it. But that was a whole nother eye-opener for me because I didn't see myself that way. I even said to my friend, I've never really asked anybody how they perceive me. Like, how do you see me? So let me ask you, how do you see me? Because that will help me grow. That will help me learn. That will help me see myself in a different perspective on things that I need to work on and things that I need to grow in and things that I can hold on to that I know I'm doing right and I'm doing good in and that I need to keep going in. But don't we all need that? I'm doing as best as I can to help other people and encourage them because I see some things happening in their lives, good or bad, and I'm able to talk in truth with some people. I'm able to speak boldly. I'm able to show love. I'm able to, But that's not for everybody, and not everybody can do that. And so you have to be okay with not everybody can give you, and you can't receive from everybody what you want. So this is why you go into it with no expectation. Because maybe where they're at in their journey and their heart and in their mind, they're not capable of that yet. But if you're patient and you're kind and you're loving and you're nurturing and you're merciful, it'll develop. It'll become something. Isn't that how we're supposed to do relationships? Relationships are hard work. But if you're willing to put in the work, you can accomplish anything. Anything. If you let love lead. If you let God lead. Last week I told you to go out of your comfort zone. This week, let's lead with love. Because we already got out of our uncomfortable zone and we accomplished something. We looked at something differently. We had a new perspective of it. So we just healed from something, didn't we? We just went through something that wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be. But we see the potential, and now we want to know more. But the only way that we're going to know more is if we show more. So show more love so that you can receive more love. So that your cup is now full to go out and be God's vessel. This is deep for some people. This is hard for a lot of people. Very hard for a lot of people. But I promise you, it's doable for everybody, wherever you're at in your journey. And if God lines you up to watch this video, then He's showing you something, isn't He? Through me. As a vessel. As a witness. With a testimony. I'm going to end it here. I'm almost at an hour. Have an amazing, amazing week. I'm sure we'll talk again. It's kind of how this is going now, isn't it? And I don't know what's next. I don't know what's happening. I have journal entries. I journal. I'm having visions. I do not dream very often. I'm not a dreamer. But I know people who do have visions. I know people who do have dreams. I love you all. I really, truly do. And you're going, you don't even know me. I don't need to. I know your heart. But some of you are trying to find your heart. Because it's been broken. And you don't find yourself deserving of anything good anymore. Because you think you're too broken, or you think you're too gone, or you think that God doesn't love you, or you think that there's no way that He can do anything for you. And I posted that God has been telling me that Easter's going to look a lot different this year. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that looks like for anybody. But maybe you should go into Easter remembering who God is and how He brought His only Son to forgive you for your sins. And maybe if you go to church with somebody this week, or for Easter, or whatever, and maybe you've never been to a church. Maybe you've never stepped foot in one. But maybe you should trust the people that are around you to guide you in a different way now. I don't know why I'm saying this, but this is for somebody, and maybe it's for myself. I don't really know yet, because I have not found a church yet that I am all gung ho about. I mean, I'm not lying. Like I don't, you know what I mean? But I do have people around me who know God, and so I cling to that and I hold on to them. But maybe you don't have all that yet. But maybe you have people who have invited you or have said, hey, come to church with me, who have, you know what I mean? Let them protect you through that. Let them take you there. Let them show you something different. Let them give you a different perspective. So if you go on Easter to church and you listen to the sermon, know that that's for you. Know that your sins are already forgiven. But you're going to have to work through that. You're going to have to forgive yourself. You're going to have to look at some things and take accountability and take responsibility for some of your actions that you have done. And be okay with not having closure to everything, and be okay with not having the apologies or being able to give apologies, or even on the other end of that, if somebody's hurt you and you're not getting the apology or you're not getting what you need out of that, and be okay with that. Have a great week. Show love, give love, help somebody else fill their cup so that they can go out and release their cup. Have a great one. I love you guys.